now to one of the all-time classic Premier League comebacks. Everton were 2-0 up against Bournemouth with 3 minutes remaining of normal time, but somehow managed to lose the game 3-2. It means they've now lost all three of their opening games, leaving them bottom of the table. Now, Peter McPartland, also known as Ped, from Toffee TV, joins us now. I dare say it's not a good afternoon to you, so I won't even say that. But you were at Goodison Park on Saturday. Were you left in complete shock?
Yeah, still in shock, to be honest. I can't quite understand how that happened. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Dyche said he was left scratching his head. Did the players need to take responsibility for that defeat? Did they just literally sit back? What happened? Because they were playing so well.
No, 100% on the manager. I and many other fans feel that it was the manager's fault. And to be honest, I think, having heard him since, I'm flabbergasted by his remarks and how he's thrown the players under the bus. He took our best player off with about 5 or 6 minutes to go and Dyche, and the whole game just seemed to change. Once they got the goal, the energy just drained out of the ground. His subs were both embarrassing for someone who's managed the clubs in the Premier League for as long as he has. And he said that he could smell that there was something was going to happen. Well, he's the manager. He had a chance to change it, and he didn't. And the likes of Seamus Coleman, Dyche, Gay, Timmy Aboonham, they looked absolutely knackered. And I put it squarely at his door.
Do you think the players feel like that as well? Do you think they feel that he got it wrong?
Well, it's always hard to know how players feel. I know Seamus Coleman come out afterwards and took responsibility, and he will always do. That's the kind of person he is. But as I say, for myself and other fans, you could just see it happening in front of you like a car crash. And sadly, for me, as I said, I put that squarely at the manager's door.
I hear you in what you're saying in terms of the substitutions, but, you know, there are 11 players on that pitch. You're 2-0 up with 87 minutes played, and you're still going to lay it at the door of Sean Dyche and not put it on the players that were on the pitch, capable potentially of holding on. No?
No, it's on the manager. I can't be swayed on this. Honestly, there's been a narrative over the weekend that it's the players and the players have fell apart. That's the narrative the manager's created. A lot of people like to believe that Sean Dyche is some kind of saviour of Everton. It's just simply not true. He's won 5 games in 2024. It's not good enough for Everton Football Club. Losing the first 3 games of the season is not good enough for Everton Football Club. And I don't know when someone's going to stand up and say what is good enough for Everton, because this is not. And if the manager can't take responsibility, even if he doesn't believe that, even if he just takes the pressure off those players, but he didn't. He threw them under the bus, and I feel repulsed by his comments.
Do you feel you're in the minority or the majority up there? Because you would know, you've got your finger on the pulse.
It's hard to say, because it's, from what I've seen on social media, a lot of people believe, like I do, that it was on the manager. It was a great day Saturday, up till they scored their first goal. The sun was shining, we're scoring goals. We were enjoying it. You could see the players were enjoying it. The manager just froze and made 2 absolutely terrible subs. As I said, and Dyche was our best player. He was running the game. And then he took Dominic Calvert-Lewin off for some weird reason. He was the focal point, an out ball. They brought 5 players on, fresh players, fast players, and they just went at our aging back 4. You know, we had Seamus Coleman, you know, well into his 30s, James Tarkowski, Michael Keane, both in their 30s. Dyche Gay in front of them, who's in his 30s. These players needed to be freshen up, and he made poor subs. And he's come out and blamed the players for being, you know, for not understanding, for not seeing it. I put that blame on him. He should have made a couple of subs at 2-1. He could have made a couple of subs at 2-2. You know, Jordan Pickford had to make an amazing save to keep it at 2-2. But you could just see it happening. And the manager just stood there on the touchline and watched it happen. He's got the control. We don't as fans. The players don't. He has. And as I said, you know, the players, it was poor. You expect better. But sometimes it just doesn't happen. And the manager can take control and make those subs.
In terms of Sean Dyche, obviously there's been a lot of problems off the field as well. It sounds to me like you don't want to see him at the helm anymore. Do you fear for his future? I mean, do you even fear for it, or do you want him out?
I don't fear for it because there's nobody at the club who could sack him. I'm not plussed at Sean Dyche. I'm not a big fan of his, but at the same time, I understand why he's the Everton manager. He had a great run at the end of the season that kept us up. I'm not sure how many other people could do that job with the pressures it brings. But the sad thing is, Everton are just drifting along. We're waiting for our new stadium, which is fantastic, and we all can't wait. It will be a game changer, I imagine, in Everton going forward with our finances. But the club is just a joke at the moment. We're on to our third potential buyer in a year, and we're waiting for that to happen. But John Textor obviously involved with Crystal Palace, so that's very difficult. And it just feels like a bit of a zombie club just drifting along. And Sean Dyche is obviously doing his best. I do believe he's doing his best. Whether that's good enough, we'll wait and see. We come back from the international break, got 2 very tough away games for different reasons. And maybe by the time we get to the next international break after this, we'll see where we are and whether there's any extra pressure on him. But as I said, it's bigger than Sean Dyche. It's the whole club. It's just drifting along, and it needs someone to grab hold of it and take us forward.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, in terms of trying to freshen it up, in terms of trying to get players in, your hands are pretty tied at the moment. What's the solution? Is there a solution short term?
I think for some of the fans, they believe that some of the new signings should have been involved. Timothy Abuma's played the game so far, and Jai came on at the weekend. But there's other players there. Jake O'Brien's been sitting on the bench. You've got to question why we paid the money we did for him if he's just going to sit on the bench. Michael Keane has not done a lot wrong, but last season we had a really tight defence. He comes in the side, obviously, with Jared Branthwaite being out, and suddenly we concede 10 goals in 3 games. That can't be right. But the whole team's supposed to be based on the idea that we don't concede goals, and suddenly we're conceding 10 in 3 games. So obviously it needs freshening up, and obviously we brought a couple in on deadline day, and hopefully they'll be involved sooner rather than later. But I just find the way we drift along as a football club, it's not the way it should be for Everton Football Club, and it is. It's become the norm, and we've become the butt of everyone's jokes. And as you've just said there, the greatest comeback or the latest comeback in Premier League history, these records just seem to be on Everton all the time.
Yeah, how galling is it, the fact that, across Merseyside, it's all roses at the moment under the new manager, Arne Slot?
Couldn't care less. They've got nothing to do with us. They're in a different league to us. They run their ship rightly. It's got nothing to do with us, what happens over there. We were, for many years, pulled along by this idea that if we beat them in the derby and they were doing poorly, then that meant we were doing well. It should never be a reflection on Everton, how they're doing, and far too many times it has been. It's great, yeah, when we beat them in the derby. It was a fantastic night when we beat them in the derby in April. But we should never, ever look at them. We need to look at ourselves, start looking inward and saying, what can we do to improve this football club? And it starts at the top, and Farhad Moshiri's gone completely missing. Is he the owner of Everton Football Club anymore? We never see him, we never hear him. What is going on? Because nothing will change till he sells the club. And quite frankly, he's been maybe the worst thing to ever happen to Everton Football Club.
Look, you fought off a relegation battle last time around. Do you think that's going to happen this time around? And do you fear the fact that you will go down this time?
It's really early. Obviously, we've lost the first 3 games, but we lost the first 3 games last season and the season before. We are terrible in August. Maybe questions need to be asked about the pre-season, about who we're buying and why aren't they ready to be starting games and ready to be up to the Premier League standard. So I'm not going to start, getting involved in that yet. The 3 teams who come up obviously will be the favourites to go down. But if this drags on for much longer, or this idea, this standard that we have at the football club, that it's all about just staying up is good enough, it's not good enough. It's not good enough for Everton Football Club, and we have to get away from that idea. And if Sean Dyche is part of that, if he's part of the idea that it's okay to just stay in the Premier League, that's good enough for me, then he's not good enough for Everton Football Club as the manager. But this does start at the top, and I think people have to again go back to asking these questions of where is the owner and how is this dragging on and this ownership nonsense continuing.
Just finally, Ped, I was just looking at your next 6. You've got Villa away, you've got Leicester away, then it's Palace at home, Newcastle at home, Ipswich away, then Fulham. Where do you see any wins in those games?
Obviously, Villa will be very hard. They're in a great moment for their club, obviously, with Champions League football. It has to be Leicester. You know, that's the game which you look at and think that's a 6-pointer straight away. And obviously the Palace game at home. But if we don't get something at Leicester, then the pressure on that Palace game is huge. And Palace are a decent team, sorry. And the manager's come in, he's done well. And the pressure will start to mount. And obviously, as I said, that next international break will be really key for this club if whoever the owner or the CEO start to look at Sean Dyche's position.
Well, I hope to speak to you on a happier day very soon. Thanks, Ped.
Thank you.